Charlene, Joe's not going to be here? He's trying to pull a Jackson.
A quick question for you, Mr. Ashbrook. Mr. Ashbrook. I'm sorry. Each time I'm going to ask for a motion from the commission. Yeah, that's why I'm making
Good afternoon, Mr. Jackson. How are you?
And then on the quasi hearing, I don't need a motion.
That's right.
You're the guy.
Test 1, 2.
Quiet.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Wednesday, September 9th, Lynn Haven CRA board meeting. It's 4:31. The meeting is now called to order. A motion for an approval of the meeting minutes from June 23rd, 2015.
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
The motion has been cast and seconded. Is there any comment or questions from the board? Are there any comments or questions from the public? And there are none. Would you please call the roll, Mr. Schubert, for the approval of the meeting minutes?
Commissioner Shad?
Aye.
Commissioner Friend?
Yes.
Commissioner Barnes?
Aye.
Commissioner Ashbrook? Mayor Anderson?
Yes. Item number 3 is resolution number 2015-0901, adopting a tentative community redevelopment agency budget for the fiscal year 2015-2016. Is there a motion?
I'll move to be approved as presented.
And is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. There's been a motion and a second for approval. Is there any question or discussion from the board? Are there any questions or discussion from the public? And there are none. Mr. Schubert, would you please call the roll for the vote?
Read it.
You're having to read a resolution for this?
Rob, do I need to read it?
Okay, so we need to read it and then have another motion. Sorry.
Resolution number 2015-09-01, a resolution adopting a tentative budget for the Lynn Haven Community Redevelopment Agency for the fiscal year 2015-2016 and appropriating for the purposes specified redevelopment trust funds in amounts specified for disbursement according to said budget for the fiscal year 2015 and 2016. And I might add, too, that this budget more than likely will look different come the mid-year amended budget due to probable changes regarding the Main Street.
Thank you. Because I did not ask for the resolution to be read before I ask for a motion in a second, could I please have another motion?
Yes, I'll make the motion be approved as presented.
And a second?
Second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion or questions from the board? From the public? And there is none. Mr. Schubert, would you now please call the roll?
Commissioner Shad?
Aye.
Commissioner Friend?
Yes.
Commissioner Barnes?
Aye.
Commissioner Ashbrook?
Yes.
Mayor Anderson?
Yes. Item number 4, the discussion and possible action regarding the residential incentive program application for 1418 Indiana Avenue. Is there a motion?
I'll move approval.
Is there? Thank you. There's been a motion and an approval and a second for approval. Is there any question or discussion from the board? Any questions or discussion from the public? Any information from staff? Okay, at this time, Mr. Schubert, would you please call the roll?
Did you have anything, Mr. Jenke?
Okay.
No, he doesn't raise his hand.
Just for clarification, you may recall we had this this item was tabled at the last CRA board meeting. There were some questions about the ownership of the property, which the city attorney and I had clarified. We updated the application. Everything is complete now, and I'm requesting approval from the CRA board.
Thank you. Are there any other questions or comments from the board or from the public? Okay, Mr. Schubert, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Friend?
Yes.
Commissioner Barnes?
Aye.
Commissioner Ashbrook?
Yes.
Commissioner Shad?
Aye.
Mayor Anderson?
Yes. Item number 5, discussion and possible action regarding the residential incentive program application for 1502 Michigan Avenue. Is there a motion?
So moved.
I don't know who it was.
Barnes.
Mr. Barnes, Commissioner Barnes had the motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Are there any questions or discussion from the board? Information from staff?
This is a new application that was submitted to the CRA office, another project property owner that is requesting the refund of the request of $2,500 for the residential incentive program. This home has already been completed. I think the contractor started in early June on this project. I attached some before and after pictures to the agenda packet for your information. And at this point, I'm requesting approval of this application as presented.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion or question from the board? From the public? And there is none. At this time, would you please call the roll, Mr. Schubert?
Commissioner Barnes?
Aye.
Commissioner Ashbrook?
Yes.
Commissioner Shad?
Aye.
Commissioner Friend?
Yes.
Mayor Anderson?
Yes. And so it does pass. Number 6 is the discussion and possible action regarding the Sheffield Park Master Plan. This is the approval of the conceptual master plan and authorization to proceed with the project. Is there a motion?
I'll move that we proceed.
And
I'll
a second?
second.
And there has been a second. At this time, is there any staff discussion or report? Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. This item is a follow-up item from our previous workshop regarding this Sheffield Park Conceptual Master Plan. I incorporated the public input into the updated keynotes, which have been attached to the agenda packet. And I also provided some examples of the design that I'm suggesting or that I'm proposing at this point. My recommendation is, or I'm requesting to move forward with this project to the next stage, which would be the drawing of the construction plans and the permitting for this project.
Thank you.
Okay.
Are there questions from the board? Mr. Shad?
Yes, I
Commissioner
do.
Shad?
Firstly, before I give approval to proceed with this, I want to know what it costs. In other words, I'm not willing at this point to say, go ahead and expend money for all the plans and all of that until you can give us an estimate or specifications on the costs. All right?
The estimate that I presented to the board at the last workshop or the workshop before was about $1 million. However, it is an estimate, and at this point, we will know the exact number once we have the construction plans in hand and once we have gone through the bidding process for each individual phase. Then I can give you the exact number.
All right, then, in my opinion, the authorization to proceed is only to proceed with the plans and specifications and pricing it, and then it will come back before this board.
Absolutely.
All right.
Yes,
Just
thank
wanted
you
to
for
make that
clarifying.
clear.
Good job.
Are there other questions from the board? Are there questions or discussion from the public? Okay. At this time, Mr. Schubert, would you then call the roll for discussion and possible action regarding the Sheffield Park Master Plan, approval of conceptual master plan, and authorization to proceed with the project?
Commissioner Ashbrook?
Yes.
Commissioner Shad?
Aye.
Commissioner Friend?
Yes.
Commissioner Barnes?
Aye.
Mayor Anderson?
Yes. And so the motion has passed. Item number 7, this is a time for public commentary regarding the Lynn Haven Community Redevelopment Agency. Are there any questions or commentary from the public today? And there is none. At this time, I would like to adjourn the Lynn Haven Community Redevelopment Agency board meeting. We will reconvene at exactly 5:01 for a public hearing, and you're invited to stay, of course. Thank you.
It's time to get the show on the road. Well, that's why we got to do it at 5:01.
I believe there's people that go to these meetings and they'll watch their clock to make sure and then they'll report to the Department of Revenue if they started at 4:58.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Wednesday, September the 9th Commission meeting. And today will be a hearing, so we had to wait until 5:01. So this meeting is now called to order. And at this time, if you would stand with me, please, for the invocation. At our second meeting, we will have Lynn Haven Elementary student here to do the invocation and the flag for us, but today I'll be doing it for us. Father, we thank you for bringing us together as the citizens of Lynn Haven and for this opportunity to work together as we move forward in the city. We humbly ask for your assistance and guidance as we move through this process. Bless everyone who's here today and their families. In Christ's name I pray, amen. Would you please join me now for the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. It is now 5:02 and the public hearing is open. Item A is the tentative millage rate for the 2015 tax roll. At this time, would the city manager please present the report?
Yes, Mayor, thank you. I've got a statement followed by the resolution of title only being read. The statement is, for the purpose of funding a portion of the fiscal year 2015-2016 general fund budget of the City of Lynn Haven, a millage rate of 3.9 is proposed for 2015. With a current year rollback rate of 3.8859, the current proposed rate as a percent change of the rollback rate is 0.36%. The resolution number 2015-09-623, a resolution of the City of Lynn Haven, Florida, levying the tentative ad valorem property tax millage rate for the municipal purposes on all taxable property within the city for the fiscal year beginning October 1st, 2015 and ending September 30th, 2016, stating the percentage by which the millage to be levied exceeds the rollback rate and providing an effective date.
Are there any comments from the public? There appear to be none. Is there a motion to adopt the resolution?
So moved.
Thank you. There's been a motion and a second. Are there any comments or questions from the board? Mr. Schubert, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Shad?
Aye.
Commissioner Friend?
Yes.
Commissioner Barnes?
Aye.
Commissioner Ashbrook?
Yes.
Mayor Anderson?
Yes, and the item has passed. Item B is the tentative general fund and enterprise budget for fiscal year 2015-2016. At this time, would the city manager please read this budget plan?
Resolution number 2015-09-624, a resolution of the City of Lynn Haven, Florida, adopting a tentative general fund budget and approving tentative enterprise fund budgets for the fiscal year beginning October 1, 2015 and ending September 30th, 2016, and appropriating for the purposes specified funds of the City of Lynn Haven, Florida, in amounts specified for disbursement according to said budget.
Thank you. Are there any public comments? Yes, ma'am.
Janet Walker, 1106 Michigan Avenue. Page 64 of the budget we're speaking about this evening, entitled Stormwater Fund Revenue. Down 3/4 of the way, we have line item 4384-00, debt proceeds. The last column, original FY 15-16, we have $3,720,000. Is that a new bond for us?
No, that's accounting for the, the loan that we spoke of, whether it's through the contractor or through a traditional lender's That's just accounting for that fund. Not fund, it's not a bond.
It's not a bond,
Right. It's accounting for the 17th Street ditch,
correct?
the change order that was discussed 2 weeks ago.
Now, are we taking that $3,720,000 and we're adding it to the two items above that, the transfer from the water fund, a little over $500,000, and the transfer from the sanitation fund of $364,000? And is that then going to pay the $4,255,132 then for the ditch? Is that how we're coming to that payment of the $42,55,132?
You lost me along the way somewhere. The $3.72 million is not going to be incurred. We're not going to pay that out. That is going to be part of that debt service I spoke about, approximately $250,000. We're not going to cut the contractor a check for that. We're either going to pay the contractor for 20 years the debt service on 3.72, or we're going to go to a traditional bank. This is just accounting for where that revenue is coming in.
So next year, if I were to look on the page that lists all the debt services, would I find that particular amount there listed with the other bonds?
Yes, you will.
I would.
You will, because that's a note, and that's exactly what that is. That's accounting for the note that we will have on the books. That is not physically $3.72 million that's coming out of our coffers.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions or comments from the public? At this time, is there a motion to adopt Resolution 2015-09624?
So moved.
Second.
And there has been a motion and a second. Is there any discussion from the board? Would you please call the roll, Mr. Schubert?
Commissioner Shad?
Aye.
Commissioner Friend?
Yes.
Commissioner Barnes?
Aye.
Commissioner Ashbrook?
Yes.
Mayor Anderson?
Yes. The time is now 5:07, and this public hearing is closed. The time is now 5:08, and item number 4, the public hearing is open. The first item is item A, tentative Community Redevelopment Agency budget for fiscal year 2015-2016. Is there a report from the city manager?
Resolution number 2015-09-625, a resolution of the City of Lynn Haven, Florida, adopting a Community Redevelopment Agency tentative budget for the fiscal year beginning October 1, 2015, and ending September 30, 2016, and appropriating for the purposes specified funds of the City of Lynn Haven, Florida Community Redevelopment Agency in amounts specified for disbursement according to said budget. And I would also add the same caveat like we did at the CRA meeting, that more than likely during the mid-year amended budget, it'll look different based on the proposed changes that we're hearing from the Main Street Board.
Thank you. Are there any comments or questions from the public? Yes, sir.
Rich Walker, 1106 Michigan Avenue, dealing with the CRA budget. I look in here and I see one entry, Sheffield Park Improvements Phase 1, $250,000. According to the meetings I've been to, the commissioners haven't approved any improvements to Sheffield Park, but yet it's carried in the CRA budget. And that budget ends in 3 weeks. So, in accordance with information I've received from finance officer, if this money is not used within that budget period, it's returned to the CRA. Is that correct?
Mr. Schubert,
Yes.
would you like to?
Okay.
Right.
So we have 3 weeks left to approve the Sheffield Park Phase 1. If it's not approved, then that money will be returned or carried over.
This is for the coming fiscal year. This is for 15-16.
Yeah, that's right.
Are you saying that there was $250,000 in the 14-15?
No, it's in here for the 15-16, okay? 15-16. But it hasn't been approved yet, so we're going to be waiting till next year for approval?
Till October 1.
Okay, all right. Also, thank you. Also for that, listed in the budget is operating expenses for the CRA. If you look on the page, I have 61, the personnel schedule for the CRA for all the budgets since the start of the CRA. It lists the CRA director, none. Total full-time employees, people, none. Total part-time, none. Most of the capital outlays are listed. Operating expenses are listed for this 2015, 2016 will be capital outlay $250,000 for Sheffield Park. But the operating expenses are supposed to cover salary and employees. There are no employees. Can somebody tell me where that $100,000 goes? What it's used for? And I don't have to be specific about this year coming up, but last year also.
Yeah, I mean, there's one employee paid out of that, and that is the director. What page are you on?
According to the paperwork here, there is no CRA director.
Say again?
I'm on page 61 of this would be the tentative one, but according to that and all previous budgets for the CRA for the last 4 years.
And what employees do you have?
There's no CRA director, but operating expenses $100,000. And I'm trying to figure out where that $100,000 goes.
On my page 61 is the sewer, but you know, if I turn to 74 and I'm on the personnel schedule for CRA, I've got a CRA director and there's nobody listed there.
In the new budget that you just approved, this is your tentative one. Page 73, operating expenses.
Okay.
Operating expenses for CRA is $165,100. If you go back up and look at the schedule of the people that are employed in the CRA on page 74 of the year 2015, 2016, you will see CRA director, none. Total full-time employees, none. Total part-time, none. Total positions, none.
Correct.
Sheffield Park listed, which we just went through. And operating expenses for the CRA for the year 2015, 2016 will be 165, if I remember rightly, 141,000, correction, $165,100.
Okay.
Those operating expenses are supposed to cover the salaries, et cetera, et cetera. There's nobody in that office.
Right.
If there's nobody in that office, they don't use anything.
Right.
So why do they have $165,000?
There's somebody in the office, they're paid out of the Main Street because they have to have a full-time employee. I can tell you, you know, professional services or other, that $145,000, $60,000 is for the CRA plan update. 35 is planned for the McMullen Library. And there's a sewer line for $50,000 that's also planned as part of that $145,000. The rest of the expenses are associated with a CRI director who also doubles as the Main Street director. And, you know, we've talked about it and you've been at the meetings. That's probably going to end, like I mentioned, with the amended budget in April, mid-year.
Thank you.
Sure thing.
That takes care of that question.
Once I got on the same page with you, we were fine.
Thank you. Is there a motion to adopt Resolution 2015-09625?
So moved.
Is there a second? Thank you. Is there any discussion from the board? Mr. Schubert, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Ashbrook?
Yes.
Commissioner Shad?
Aye.
Commissioner Friend? Commissioner Barnes?
Aye.
Mayor Anderson?
Aye. And this public hearing is now closed at 5:14. The next public hearing, item number 5, is now open at 5:15. The first item, item A, is the tentative Main Street budget for fiscal year 2015-2016. Mr. Schubert, would you please read the resolution and report?
Resolution number 2015-09-626, a resolution of the City of Lynn Haven, Florida, adopting a Main Street tentative budget for the fiscal year beginning October 1, 2015, and ending September 30th, 2016, and appropriating for the purposes specified funds of the City of Lynn Haven, Florida, Main Street, in amounts specified for disbursement according to said budget.
Thank you. Are there any comments or questions from the public? Yes.
Rich Walker, 1106 Michigan Avenue, on Main Street, dealing with the conversation we just had, dealing with CRA. You stated the fact that the Main Street employee doubles as the CRA director, and he is paid by Main Street. According to his W-2, that's not correct. W-2 comes from the City of Lynn Haven. Will this be taken care of in the meetings that we're going to have dealing with Main Street?
I believe so.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there a motion to adopt resolution? I'm sorry. Is there another comment or question? I'm sorry, sir. Thank you.
I'm Mr. Gutnick, 1519 Pennsylvania Avenue. And I'm a little new to this, so maybe this is just my ignorance, but can you explain to me why we have a community redevelopment agency and a separate Main Street budget? Why are they not under the same auspice?
Would you like to address or me?
Sure, and that's a very topical, timely question. That's a question that the Main Street Board has been addressing their last two meetings. It appears, and I don't want to speak for the board, it appears that there is some redundancy. Essentially, the Main Street is a pass-through from the CRA, so they're looking at a way to streamline the process to eliminate the redundancy, become more efficient, and accomplish the same exact task by being potentially, and I don't want to put words in their mouth, by doing like a CRA advisory board. And that should come before the Commission and the CRA board, which are one and the same, within the next month or two max.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there other commentary? Yes, sir.
Dan Johnson, 1115 Michigan. Can somebody explain to me what this Main Street is? Because it is Main Street Incorporated, a separate company. And we are transferring $300,000 a year to them. I think it's quite illegal. So, what do they serve us if we've got the CRA doing the same thing?
If I may address, I have been attending the Main Street Board meetings for the last couple of months and having input during the commentary because these questions have come up time and time again since my taking office as mayor. And I also, I don't believe that anything necessarily illegal has taken place, but I think that the way it is set up has given rise to many questions. I don't think it's necessarily followed the path that many of the citizens felt that it should be following based on what they were told in the beginning. And so my question has been to Main Street, would they consider becoming a different entity, dissolving the entity? That was up for discussion at the last Main Street Board, and my understanding from what they said at the board meeting was that they would be spending the next few weeks working out a proposal to the City Commission to bring before the Commission to basically dissolve Main Street and to become an advisory board to CRA. That is my understanding of the meeting. That's not official. That's just the understanding that I had when I attended the board meeting. Maybe Mr. Schubert could follow up if you'd like.
My understanding, you can't say much if you go to the board meetings. You never know when they are. So the public gets no input.
That's changing, and I didn't mean to interrupt you, but at the last board meeting, everyone who was at the meeting was allowed to speak. I stood up several times and asked questions. I was treated cordially, and so were the other people who were there. So I was quite pleased with the reception that I received, and if I would encourage you to attend the next meeting, if you're able to, and to ask the same sorts of questions that you're asking now, and I think you're going to be very satisfied with the direction they're headed.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Are there other questions or comments? Yes.
Lynn Jenke, 503 West 10th Street. Maybe just as an add-on, our next Main Street Board meeting has been scheduled for September the 24th at 3:30 in the afternoon, right here in this place. And
Okay.
everybody is welcome to come to the meeting.
Okay. If you didn't hear Mr. Yankee's comments, the next Main Street Board meeting is scheduled for September 24th at 3:30 in the afternoon here in the chambers, and the public is invited to attend. Is there any other question or commentary from the public regarding the tentative Main Street budget? Any comments from the board? At this time, is there a motion to adopt Resolution 2915-09626, the tentative Main Street budget?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. There's been a motion and a second. Would you please call the roll, Mr. Schubert?
Commissioner Shad?
Aye.
Commissioner Friend?
Yes.
Commissioner Barnes?
Aye.
Commissioner Ashbrook?
Yes.
Mayor Anderson?
Yes. And the motion has passed. It is now 5:21, and this public hearing is closed. It is now 5:21, and item number 6, the public hearing is opened. Development Order DO 15-3, the Emerald Coast Fellowship Edition, 4102 Highway 390 West. This is a quasi-judicial hearing, and we have a report from staff. Thank you.
Mayor, if I can do the quasi-judicial
Yes.
procedure first.
Thank you.
Items number 6 and 14 are a quasi-judicial hearing of the City of Lynn Haven. If anyone plans on providing any testimony to this board, please go ahead and raise your right hand. Stand and raise your right hand right now. You swear the testimony you're going to provide is the truth upon penalty of perjury? Thank you. And if any board member has had any ex parte communications regarding item number 6 or 14, please go ahead and disclose it on the record now.
I have had none.
I've had none.
None. None.
None.
Thank you, ma'am.
This is a development order application from Emerald Coast Fellowship Church. What they would like to do is construct an addition to their existing church building. The location is 4102 Highway 390 West. Total size of the property is 6.12 acres, and the current land use on the property is public. The agent who submitted the application was Todd Tyndall, but I believe that we have both James Commander and also Mike Harper from Buchanan and Harper, the engineer, here today. The addition will be 5,418 square feet and will be constructed within the limits of an existing paved area that's used for parking currently. This is the location map. I think you're probably all familiar with where it is. It's in between Jenks and Highway 390. This is the aerial of what's currently on the property right now. The proposal is to construct the addition on what would be the bottom of the building here. When you look at the entire buildings here, it would be on what would be the south on this particular aerial shot. There's a little tiny red dot there that I placed there. There's parking there right now. That's where the addition is going to be. And then some existing gravel parking is actually going to be turned into a paved parking area. The addition on this diagram is on the left-hand side, and that dark grey area is going to be the improved parking. And again here, you can see the addition with a little dot on it, and that grey area is the improved parking. There is no requirement for any additional stormwater permits for this addition, because initially when they were granted their permit for a stormwater pond, that pond was constructed large enough to accommodate this addition. They had impervious there. As I said, most of it was parking. Now they're just pulling out that impervious, putting the addition there, which will be a kitchen. So it's not going to increase the traffic capacity. It's for improved facilities.
Are there any questions from the board? Any questions from the public? It's 5:25, and the public hearing is closed. Item number 7 is a second public hearing, Development Order DO 15-4, Ace Home and Garden Center at 520 Ohio Avenue. This is a quasi-judicial hearing. Mr. Jackson, would you please swear in the persons who...
Yes, ma'am. Items number 7 and 15 are quasi-judicial hearings of the City of Lynn Haven. If anyone plans on providing any testimony before the board, please go ahead and stand and raise your right hand. You swear the testimony you're going to provide is the truth upon penalty of perjury?
I do.
Thank you. And if any board members had any ex parte communications regarding items number 7 or 15, please go ahead and disclose that on the record.
I have none.
I've had some discussions with the owners.
I've had none. I've had none.
I've had none.
Thank you, ma'am.
This is also a development order application. The applicants are Stephen Smith and William Head. Their agent is Jeffrey Peterman, who is from Panhandle Engineering. He's the engineer for the potential project. The location is 520 Ohio Avenue. The size is 2.24 acres, and the current land use is commercial, and it is located in the CRA. Again, I think this is a parcel that most of you will be familiar with. The request is a development order approval to convert the current vacant 6,869 square foot vacant building, which was Gibbs Marine. I think we're all familiar with the Gibbs Marine site. Into a 9,805 square feet Ace Hardware store and garden centre. What they intend to do is add 2,936 square feet onto the existing building, but they are also going to put proper parking facilities there, landscaping, and on the back portion of the parcel, which is on Florida Avenue, they're going to be locating a stormwater pond. So this just shows the location, 5th Street and Ohio. This is the aerial showing what's currently there right now. So the building there in the bottom right-hand corner is going to be extended with that addition, almost 3,000 feet. And then the parking is going to be improved. There's going to be proper striped parking, paved, landscaping around the perimeters and the vehicle use area, and then the stormwater pond. As you can see, there's no stormwater facilities on that site currently. The stormwater facilities are going to be located on the back portion, that parcel that's on Florida Avenue, and you can see here on the bottom right hand side, that's that back. So at the top is Ohio, at the bottom is Florida, and the stormwater pond is going to be constructed at this time along with all the other improvements, and will be large enough to accommodate any further development that should occur on that back parcel. This is a rendering of what the building is proposed to look like, the east and the south, and then the west. So as you can see, it really will be an improvement to that vacant site. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions from the board? And because this is an item on the agenda, I'll have questions from the public at that time if there are any. The public hearing is closed at 5:28. This time we'll go to item number 8, which is the mayor's report. Just wanted to bring up that tomorrow I'll have the opportunity to sing for the Senior Citizens Center during their lunch, so I'm looking forward to that. And a great deal of time over the last 2 weeks using social media and other means to talk with citizens about one of the items on the agenda today, the golf carts. And so had a lot of good discussions with people. I did meet with the Main Street Board at their last meeting, had a lot of good discussion with them, and feel very good about the direction in which they're proceeding. And 2 events that are coming up over the next 2 weeks. On September 19th, Lynn Haven's going to be hosting a walk on our bridge to celebrate Suicide Prevention Week and to honor that proclamation, which will be made today. And then also the following weekend will be the Shaddai Shrine-sponsored paper sailboat regatta at Porter Park, and that will be September the 26th. And it's going to be quite an exciting event. There's still room for lots of teams if you have children or grandchildren who would like to enter into that. They actually build these boats and sail them. Their only requirements is a lot of cardboard and duct tape and some paint if they want to put those together. So this is going to be very exciting, and I'm excited to be part of all of it. Commissioner Shad, do you have a report today?
I have no report.
Commissioner Ashbrook?
I have no report.
Commissioner Friend?
Yes, ma'am. A couple of things. First, the Homeless and Hungry Coalition, as you guys may recall, we created a organization, if you will, or just a program, really. It's called Laundry Love. We've done a couple of sessions where we reach out to individuals that need to get some laundry done, and I'm happy to say one of our local business, the Tillmans, offer up one of their locations to do that. But on October the 8th, I just want to mention it so I don't forget. I know we have another meeting, but anyway, October the 8th, we're going to do another Laundry Love session, and that's going to actually be for veterans this time. So pretty excited about that. I'll probably mention it again. So if you know any veterans that need some laundry, October the 8th. And then the next thing is the TPO, Bay County TPO, will be sponsoring these September Public Workshop Series. We're going to have one here in Lynn Haven on September the 15th at First Baptist. I'd like to thank First Baptist for opening their doors for this public workshop, but also what it's going to be going over is our long-range plan, transportation plan. That's one of the things that the TPO is responsible for doing, is putting together that long-range plan. So looking for public input for that. Transportation needs, it's a long vision, just so you know. It's a long-range transportation, so we're looking 20, 25 years out. So, but now's the time to come out if you can and give some public comments on that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Commissioner Barnes?
I have no report.
And if I may move back to the mayor's report, I skipped over the city manager's reading of the proclamations. Proclamation A for Suicide Prevention Week.
Proclamation. Whereas in Florida, suicide was the 9th leading cause of death in 2013, and whereas suicide ranked among the top 5 causes of death in Florida for 15 to 54-year-olds in 2013, and whereas 2,892 Floridians lost their lives to suicide in 2013 at an average age of 8 people per day, of 8 people per day, and whereas suicide is the leading cause of death amongst military personnel, and whereas in the United States we lose a person to suicide every 17 minutes, and whereas suicide can be prevented through early identification and management of mental health care, connecting individuals and communities to available resources, and improving and increasing training resources, and whereas organizations such as the American Association of Suicidology and the Florida Department of Health, Florida Suicide Prevention Resource, Emerald Coast Behavioral Hospital, Life Management Center of Northwest Florida, and Suicide Prevention Awareness, Response, and Education of Northwest Florida are dedicated to reducing the frequency of suicide attempts and deaths and the pain of survivors affected through educational programs, research projects, intervention services, and bereavement services. And whereas increased awareness, education, and commitment to action in our community are keys to help eliminate these tragedies. Now therefore I, Margot Deal Anderson, Mayor of the City of Lynn Haven, Florida, do hereby declare September 14th through 18th, 2015 as Suicide Prevention Week throughout the City of Lynn Haven, Florida, and encourage all citizens to join me in increasing awareness and understanding of suicide and to let those affected know there are resources and organizations available to help.
Thank you. And the second proclamation for Constitution Week.
Whereas September 17th, 2015 marks 228th anniversary of the drafting of the Constitution of the United States of America by a Constitutional Convention, and whereas it is fitting and proper to officially recognize this magnificent document and the anniversary of its creation, whereas it is fitting and proper to officially recognize the patriotic celebrations which will commemorate the occasions, and Whereas Public Law 915 guarantees the issuing of a proclamation each year by the President of the United States of America 2015 marks 228, 2015 and through September 23, 2015 as Constitution Week. Now therefore I, Margot Deal, Mayor of the City of Lynn Haven, Florida, do hereby proclaim September 17, 2015 through September 23, 2015 to be Constitution Week, and urge all of the citizens, schools, churches, businesses, and civic, scientific, social, and fraternal organizations to reaffirm the ideals the framers of the Constitution had in 1787.
Thank you. That was a lot of reading. You even got the mayor's name wrong, so I have to say Margot Deal Anderson.
What did I say?
Margot Deal. It's okay.
I'm sorry.
I like that name. It's the one I started out with. At this time, is there a motion to accept both of these proclamations?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Mr. Schubert, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Shad?
Aye.
Commissioner Friend?
Yes.
Commissioner Barnes?
Aye.
Commissioner Ashbrook?
Yes.
Mayor Deal Anderson? Affirm
Thank
the
you.
ideals
Yes.
of the framers of the Constitution.
At this time, if he has any ability to speak after reading those two long proclamations, it's time for the city manager's report, item number 10.
I've only got one item. If Mr. McDougall, is Jerome here? I've got the City Manager Employee of the Month, and I'm proud to present it to Jerome, who is a utilities maintenance worker that oversees the meter readers, and I think my staff has set me up with some very provocative language there, but I will say, instead of reading it, that Jerome does an excellent job at what he does. He's not always in the best situation as far as customer service because he's out there sometimes in situations where he's unfortunately cutting. But I mean, he's always very professional. I've been here almost a year and a half, have not had one complaint, only compliments on Jerome. So I appreciate your service. You're very conscientious, and we appreciate your professionalism with our citizens and the job you do. Thank you. Back, and a little dinner. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's all I have.
Is that it?
Yes, ma'am.
At this time, we'll move to item number 11, which is the city attorney's report.
No report, Mayor.
Thank you. We move to item number 12, the consent agenda, the minutes from the 8/24/15 regular meeting. Is there a motion to accept the minutes?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Is there any comment or discussion from the board? From the public? Mr. Schubert, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Barnes?
Aye.
Commissioner Ashbrook?
Yes.
Commissioner Shad?
Aye.
Commissioner Friend?
Yes.
Mayor Anderson?
Yes, and so the minutes have been approved. Now moving on to new business. Item number 13 is discussion and possible action regarding approval of right-of-way use agreement for the ACE hardware project. Is there a motion?
Mayor, before you accept the motion, I just wanted to update, update the commission on one small change. I was contacted by the representative today, and that was informed that I guess it was the previous owner, sold the property to ACE Home and Garden LLC of Lynn Haven. So I've updated the agreement to reflect that. That's all.
Okay. Is there a motion?
I'll move approval.
Is there a second?
Second.
Are there questions or discussion from the board?
I take it that the property they're talking about is I consider to be that alleyway that splits it.
Yes, sir. The alleyway and part of the alleyway and then part of 5th Street, actually, they're going to put some landscaping on that area, and they're just asking for permission to do that in coordination with this project. And this is a standard right-of-way use agreement that the cities use over the years, that if we ask them to remove it, they have to remove it within 30 days. So,
Thank you.
Are there other questions? Are there questions from the public? Yes.
Rich Walker, 1106 Michigan Avenue. When the project came up on the board before, I noticed the alleyway there. What does the right-of-way give them rather than a citizen? What does it take away from a citizen, or what does it take away from, or give them over us?
Okay. Is there a staff?
Sure. It's just an agreement that the right-of-way is, the city has a right to use that right-of-way, and they want to be able to use it on a non-exclusive basis, so they can't exclude other citizens from using it, and they just need our permission to use our portion of the right-of-way. And my understanding is it's a very small portion. It's like 4 or 5 feet. That's it, of a 60-foot and a 30-foot right-of-way.
Okay, that leads to one other question. Who owns it?
Well, the city owns the right-of-way.
City owns it?
Yes.
Okay, so we're giving them permission to use it as a right-of-way, which would have been normal for any citizen, as a right-of-way of an alley, right?
Correct. But they're going to put landscaping.
Ah.
That's why.
Thank you.
Aesthetically, it'll be more pleasing.
Thank you. Are there other questions or comments from the board? Okay, is there, I guess this time there are none. Mr. Schubert, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Barnes?
Aye.
Commissioner Ashbrook?
Yes.
Commissioner Shad?
Aye.
Commissioner Friend?
Yes.
Mayor Anderson?
Yes. So it has passed. Item number 14, discussion and possible action regarding approval of development order and certificate of concurrency, DO 15-3, Emerald Coast Fellowship Edition, 4102 Highway 390 West. Is there a motion?
I move approval.
And is there a second?
Second.
Are there questions or discussion from the board? Questions or discussion from the public? And there is none. Mr. Schubert, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Shad?
Aye.
Commissioner Friend?
Yes.
Commissioner Barnes?
Aye.
Commissioner Ashbrook?
Yes.
Mayor Anderson?
Yes, and the motion has passed. Item number 15 is the discussion and possible action regarding approval of development order and certificate of concurrency, DO 15-4, the Ace Home and Garden Center, 520 Ohio Avenue. Is there a motion?
I move approval.
Second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion or questions from the board? From the public? And there is none. Mr. Schubert, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Shad?
Aye.
Commissioner Friend?
Yes.
Commissioner Barnes?
Aye.
Commissioner Ashbrook?
Yes.
Mayor Anderson?
Yes, and the motion has passed. Moving on to item 16, discussion and possible action regarding approval of Abington Commons Conceptual Master Plan, 96 units affordable senior housing, southeast corner of 26th Street and Minnesota Avenue, and we have a staff report.
Is a request for approval of a conceptual plan. This is not asking for development order approval. This is something actually that has come before you twice before. The last time was 2013 and the request was exactly the same. What the conceptual master plan is covering is a 96-unit affordable senior housing facility. The applicant is RIA Ventures, the agent Buchanan and Harper, and there's representation here by Mike Harper. The location is the southeast corner of 26th Street and Minnesota Avenue. The size of the parcel is 19.5 acres and the land use is medium density residential. The request is the approval of a conceptual plan so that they can apply for financing with the Florida Housing Finance Corporation. As part of their application process, they have to show that they have had their conceptual plan reviewed by the city. So by bringing it to the commission, the planning board and the commission, then you vote basically on whether you approve the concept. You're not voting on actually saying they can do this thing if they do get the financing. And as I said, the exact same thing from the exact same people has been before you twice before, and they've been unfortunate and they haven't been able to get the financing. This shows the location, the corner of 26th Street in Minnesota. This is what it looks like at the moment. And this is the conceptual master plan that shows three-story buildings and stormwater accommodation, and also identifies the wetlands on site. There are quite a few wetlands on site.
Thank you. Is there a motion from the board?
Moved.
Is there a second?
A second.
Are there questions or discussion from the board?
Is this complex going to be similar in nature to the one that already exists on Minnesota close to Mosley?
I think that the intent is for this to be like Sienna Gardens. There's going to be management on site. but we don't know exactly because all this is the concept. So we wouldn't know unless they got their financing and then actually came back to you and showed you exactly what it was. I do have Mike Harper here. He might be able to answer some more specific questions.
I'll mention too that when this came before us before, the concept was for residences for those who might be having loved ones up front that would be in a more controlled, sort of an Alzheimer's type. That was the concept then, that they would have apartment type residences for a loved one to live in and be in close proximity to the other family member. Now that was the concept a few years ago, and I also understand what their need is. They have to have the governing municipality, at least for compliance purposes, put this piece of paper in their packet when they go apply for their money.
Right, and they also have, we also have forms that we have to sign to say that infrastructure would be available, water, sewer, that kind of thing. This master plan here is the exact same, it's a copy. It's exactly the same as what was presented to you before. They haven't changed anything.
Are there other questions or discussion from the board? Are there questions or discussion from the public? Yes, Mr. Walker.
Rich Walker, 1106 Michigan Avenue. Years ago, we did get involved in an affordable housing project that is located adjacent to, behind, around public, Phase 1 and Phase 2. At that point, we had to invest some money in from the city to augment that project. The project was never fully completed. I don't know to this date how much money we invested or how we gave them a write-off on whatever for that project. But is this project going to be the same way? Does the city have to invest any money, give any, I don't want to use the word freebies, but give anything to them to make sure that the project goes ahead? I didn't hear anything in there other than this might be a lockdown facility for Alzheimer's. I heard that, but that's different from affordable housing. But is there anything in the...
I'm not aware. We're not aware of any incentives.
Anything at all?
No.
So we wouldn't be on the line for anything...
Not that I'm aware of.
To make the project go ahead?
Were you asked for any of that?
No.
I'm not aware of any incentives.
I would just like to say that at this point, because you're just looking at a concept, you're not on the hook for anything. I mean, you know, you can prove this, they can get their money, and you don't have to allow them to build, they don't have to build anything. Right. I mean, you still have to look at what they're submitting.
Yeah.
Are there other questions or comments? Yes, ma'am.
Janet Walker, 1106 Michigan Avenue. Can someone tell me how they're going to enter and exit? Are they doing it on 26 or Minnesota? I wasn't quite clear from the diagram.
Answer from staff. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks. Mike Harper, Buchanan and Harper, 735 West 11th Street, Panama City. Right now, this conceptual plan shows that there is an entrance on Minnesota Avenue. And that, if I recall, that is the only entrance that's currently being shown. This is still a conceptual plan. And, you know, we're not asking for any development rights or approvals. It's just approval of the concept. So all transportation, all that would need to be dealt with when we come back for a development order.
Sure. Okay. Are there other comments or questions from the public? Okay, at this time, would you please call the roll? Mr. Schubert, thank you.
Commissioner Ashbrook?
Yes.
Commissioner Shad?
Aye.
Commissioner Friend?
Yes.
Commissioner Barnes?
Aye.
Mayor Anderson?
Yes. Okay, and so that has passed for the conceptual master plan. Item number 17 is the discussion and possible action regarding golf carts. And I do have as I said, this is something that I have done some research and something that we talked about as I was campaigning as mayor of Lynn Haven. So I have some information, but I would need a motion and a second before I can present. So is there a motion?
I want to discuss it, so I'll certainly make a motion.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second it, but I'd like to know what I'm really seconding.
Just
Okay,
just a discussion and possible action regarding golf carts, and I do have a PowerPoint presentation that I would like to present, if that's acceptable, or would you like to ask a question first?
well,
Mr.
no,
Frank?
ma'am, I was just going to maybe clarify the motion to say, as I understand it, the motion would be to allow golf carts in the CRA area.
I have what I was proposing actually in this PowerPoint as
Okay.
far as a motion, and right now, my understanding is the motion that you made is just a discussion of golf carts. You haven't agreed to anything
Can we-
else.
Well, I don't know. Can I make a motion just to discuss it?
And possible action.
Sure.
Okay, okay. If that clarifies, Commissioner.
Discussion and
Stafford's-
possible
Yeah.
action. Thank you, Mr. Shadd. I appreciate that very much. I can turn this on. Okay, part of the CRA and Main Street vision for Lynn Haven is to become a vibrant walking community in this area, and so that's why this discussion has come about. The proposal, it's small, so I'm going to, if you'll indulge me, I'd like to read it to you, what I'm proposing based on input from you. I would propose that Lynn Haven resolve to request that the Florida Department of Transportation permit and establish a golf cart crossing at the intersection of Highway 77 and 9th Street, at the intersection of Highway 77 and Marina Bay Drive on the north side of the Bailey Bridge, and at the intersections of, it says Pennsylvania, but possibly Michigan, one of those two streets, at 12th and 14th Streets to allow crossing from that area. The county manager has the authority to establish crossings on the county roads, and if you know what I'm talking about, that's 12th and 14th, which are both pretty busy streets and they're county roads, and if you live from 14th to 17th Street, or if you live on this side and you're trying to cross, we don't really even have a place that I feel comfortable on my bicycle or walking to cross, and I do a lot of that. And so this, could kind of kill two birds with one stone, if not a good word to use, I guess, but the second paragraph, I would further propose that Lynn Haven adopt a change in the current golf cart ordinance regulating the use of golf carts and expand the area for golf cart use to include the CRA area, as well as all neighborhood streets within the city limits of the city of Lynn Haven with a posted speed limit of 30 miles per hour or below. The current policy excludes and isolates the oldest neighborhoods in Lynn Haven where posted speed limits are without exception below 30 miles per hour, with most at 25 miles per hour. And then the final, I would also propose that golf carts be allowed on the Old Bailey Bridge to allow senior citizens, small children, and those with other handicaps easier access to fishing and enjoyment of the park, and to allow the Marina Bay community area to cross the bridge to enjoy the parks and historic areas of Lynn Haven. So it's kind of a long proposal, and I'll go back and revisit it if we need to. These are the neighborhoods in which golf carts are currently permitted in Lynn Haven. I did have a map outside in the lobby if anybody wants to look at it to kind of see where these are. But golf carts are permitted in all of these areas now by our city ordinance. The current Lynn Haven ordinance excludes the older established neighborhoods. Use is permitted within 1/2 mile of a bona fide golf course. Golf carts are permitted to operate on city streets within a 1/2 mile radius of any limited access subdivision that contains a bona fide golf course only when such golf cart is being used for transport to or from such golf course. Prohibited streets, golf carts may not operate upon any city, county, or state street within the city of Lynn Haven unless permitted by the above section. Golf carts shall not be permitted to travel along or cross any state highway or county road in the city unless such use is authorized by resolution of the Bay County Board of County Commissioners or the Florida DOT, and the road has to be marked with official signage. This is an exclusionary ordinance in that as it is written, it excludes many senior citizens and families who do not live in the gated or exclusive residential areas from enjoying the mobility and the relaxing travel by golf cart, which is a trend all over our state and in Bay County as well. Golf carts are no longer just for golf courses and are part of the laid-back, live, eat, work, and play lifestyle which residents have indicated they would like to see in Lynn Haven. As we move forward with the plans for the historic district, the parks, and the government center of Lynn Haven, golf carts will make parking easier at our festivals and events. Many retirees will be able to participate in more outdoor activities such as the farmers market and the concerts in the park. Other cities of Bay County have moved forward with this, and the question is, why not us? Lynn Haven's current operational requirements, and these are, I would also bring to your attention, pretty much the same for Panama City Beach, for Callaway, for Panama City, and for Bay County. So I'll just read these one time, even though I'm showing them more than once. The operator should hold a valid current driver's license, or if the operator is under the age of 16, a person who possesses a valid current driver's license must be a passenger. Under no circumstances may any person under the age of 14 operate a golf cart on any public road in the city. So Lynn Haven's policy is actually more liberal than any other policy in the county. They require that the drivers of the golf carts have a valid driver's license. So we are a little more liberal already with that. The golf cart is operated between the hours of sunrise and sunset, provided that a golf cart equipped with integrated headlights, brake lights, turn signals, and a windshield may operate at any time. And that's another caveat that the Lynn Haven policy has that the others don't. Theirs are pretty much sunrise to sunset for golf carts. The golf cart should be operated in accordance with state or city traffic regulations. The operator should not obstruct or interfere with normal traffic flow. The golf cart should not carry more passengers than the number for which the golf cart is designed. And the golf cart is installed with efficient brakes, reliable steering apparatus, safe tires, a rear view mirror, and red reflectorized warning devices on both the front and the back. Oh, my little thing's not clicking. There we go. This is the map. The blue areas, other than the water up in the upper right-hand corner, the rest of the blue areas, sort of a dark-looking gray color, really. Those are the areas within Lynn Haven that allow golf carts on residential streets. The pink areas are city limits, and then the tan area up in the left-hand sort of corner is the CRA area of Lynn Haven. So you can see there are quite a few areas in Lynn Haven already where the residents enjoy this and are able to ride on the golf carts. Panama City Commission has approved golf cart use in the Cove area, and they're presently in the process of first and second readings of the ordinance to approve them in the Millville area, south of US 98 and west of East Avenue, which is a pretty broad area. Mayor Greg Brudnicki stated that the city allows golf carts in the Cove area neighborhood, something he says has not caused any problems. He also said that he's kind of partial because he lives in the Cove and uses a golf cart. I don't think we can restrict Millville. It's been successful in the Cove, and we haven't had a problem. That's a direct quote from a News Herald article. And then Bay County allows golf carts on all public roads within those portions of unincorporated areas of Bay County south of the Intercoastal Waterway and county-owned roads contiguous to the city of Callaway, because Callaway also allows golf carts. Bay County prohibits operation on certain roads, those again that are a U.S. highway, a state road, or a county road, any road in which the speed limit exceeds 30 miles per hour, and Wisteria Lane is excluded. Golf carts shall be authorized to cross roads specified above only at such points designated by FDOT or Bay County. The county manager has the authority to designate and mark county road crossings. Panama City Beach golf carts, they're allowed to operate on any street within the city of Panama City Beach except the following, and they list those east-west streets and north-south streets, which if you look at those are those busiest venues in Panama City Beach. Panama City Beach golf carts, they're permitted to cross streets listed at the points, again, that are approved by DOT or the county, and then they list their operator requirements, which are very similar to ours. Callaway, they allow them on streets which are subject to the jurisdiction of the city of Callaway and not a county, state, or federal roadway, and which have a speed limit of 35 miles per hour or less, as depicted on their map, and you can see that on the Callaway website. Boat Race Road is excluded. They're not allowed to ride on that road. And then Lynn Haven, again, I just wanted to point out that our mission statement for this area that we're trying to revitalize and that many of us live in, promoting a family-oriented, walkable community with a vibrant, small business-friendly downtown area while preserving our local small-town heritage. And then these are some comments made about safety and golf carts. The first one is my personal statement, so it has some probably slant an opinion to it, so I'll say that right out front. If the 25 mile per hour and 30 mile per hour speed limits are enforced in our neighborhoods in Lynn Haven by the Lynn Haven Police Department, residents, particularly senior citizens and children, will be much safer whether they're riding in golf carts, walking, bicycling, or just pulling out of their driveways. Residents currently walk as well as ride bicycles, wheelchairs, hover-rounds, skateboards, scooters, and motorcycles in Lynn Haven on state and county roads, on sidewalks, and when crossing at intersections and without intersections. Golf carts would only be driven within the city limits on residential streets, crossing county or state roads only at very limited, designated, and marked crossings by the county and or the Florida Department of Transportation. Golf carts would promote the relaxed, slower-paced lifestyle, which will increase the enjoyment of all residents of our beautiful little city and are part of a growing trend in all parts of Bay County. And the initial permit requests for suggested crossings of county and state roads, I've been speaking with people from both agencies, with Bob Micah, who is the county manager, about the county road crossings, and with two gentlemen from the Florida Department of Transportation, whose names I'll flash up there in a minute. But a crossing at Highway 77 and 9th Street would allow, and it's right out here, would allow residents to move back and forth between the east and west sides of Highway 77. Highway 77 is part of our town, and it cannot be seen as a detriment to the growth and enjoyment of our historical and park areas. The only detriment is that the traffic is allowed to drive through our town in excess of the posted 35 mile per hour speed limit. If that was enforced, it would be a lot safer for all of us. The crossings at Pennsylvania and 12th and Pennsylvania and 14th, and also if you're driving down and you look at Pennsylvania and Michigan, those two streets, they're closest to City Hall, there are probably pros and cons for one over the other. The Pennsylvania street is right where there's a turn lane really just beyond it coming on to 77. So Michigan might be better. It would be something that the county could look at and tell us. But we definitely need a crossing, whether you're on a bicycle or a golf cart, on 12th and 14th Street to be able to go from north to south in the CRA district. And then the crossings across 12th and 14th would allow seniors to travel along Pennsylvania Avenue from the park and the Senior Citizen Center. It would be access for those north of 12th and 14th Streets to travel to city government buildings and to cross over to the businesses on Ohio and Florida. There are currently no designated crossings within the CRA district for these two streets. And this would improve safety as a golf cart crossing for those on bicycles as well. Several churches are also located on these two streets, and I attend some of those churches as a visitor, and I notice that there's a lot of difficulty because some of the people walk to church or come on other different kinds of transportation. A crossing at Highway 77 and Marina Bay Drive, there is a housing subdivision and a large condominium on the north side of the bridge that would allow them to cross the walking bridge if that were part of the motion that is approved. These are the contacts that I've made with FDOT and the county for crossing permit information. Basically, the crossing of Highway 77 will involve a permitting process, but they were both very, Mr. Peters was quite open and has directed me to Steve Banach, who I'll be speaking with next if this goes further about the crossings. And then I placed a part for discussion by the public and the board. And one final comment that was made to me just this morning by someone here in Lynn Haven was that while many residents cannot afford an automobile, a golf cart is a very affordable manner of transportation to allow people to come to the park or the farmer's market or to the post office, or not the, excuse me, the city hall to pay a bill, or the senior citizen center. So anyway, that is the mayor's pitch based on many of my opinions, many of residents' opinions, and at this point I would invite the comments, questions, or discussion of the board, and then we'll have comments and discussion from the public. Thank you. Thank you so much for allowing me to do that presentation. I appreciate that.
I do have some stuff. Thank you very much for the presentation. Very well done. I guess my first question is really for the lawyer, and you may have to do some research on this, but if FDOT approves, I guess if it's an application process, if they approve the crossover, does that relieve the city of liability or no?
You want to address or what they told me?
I mean, if you talked with them, that would be interesting to hear.
The city is never relieved of liability, whether I'm walking across the crosswalk by myself, or if I'm in a wheelchair at the crosswalk, or if I'm on a skateboard. The city is liable for what happens in the city. That was the answer I got. And I'll let the attorney go from there.
Regardless of the road or.
Well, I mean, as you know, you can get sued by anybody for anything.
Yeah, but it's winning that is what I'm worried about.
And you know, lawsuits against government agencies for government functions like road stop signs are generally difficult to bring, but it doesn't mean they can't be brought. And as the mayor said in FDOT, I mean, if it's something that happens in the city and it has to do with some kind of public function, it's possible we could be sued. You know, the fact that it's on a state highway system and they approve the crossing, that would help relieve some of the liability, I think, but we would still be on the hook.
Okay. And then, Mayor, if I understand it correctly, then if we approve the new area for golf carts, would it be upon approval of the crossovers, or do you want the areas approved with or without the crossovers?
My motion would be to approve the areas without initially, because people could, be enjoying their area as the other areas are doing now, with the same kind of enjoyment, and then as the crossings are approved. And the county, Mr. Micah, did not sound like that would be a very difficult process at all.
For the county?
Yes.
Perfect. And then as far as, let me make sure I understand the area, because we've got the CRA area, and are you proposing beyond the CRA area?
Yes. And,
okay, good.
I'm proposing, as I said in the PowerPoint, all the residential areas of Lynn Haven with speed limits under 30 miles per hour, with the exclusion of those county roads, 14 and 12th Street, because as it is now, it really is exclusionary that some areas of Lynn Haven, the residents have that opportunity, and for example, in my area, we don't.
Right. Yeah, and I can appreciate that. I was obviously very involved in the first round of getting the golf carts approval, and I think the commission did a good job on making a concession. And what we did was we started by putting it in areas that were confined and or developed residential areas. But I guess I just don't understand what the CRA part is in there for then. So really the CRA part doesn't really make any difference, does it?
Well, the CRA would be the reason, the ultimate reason.
Well, in the parks, I agree with that.
Yes, because that's where all of our festivals and block parties and activities and the building, and the CRA encompasses our 3 parks, our Kane Griffin, our Porter, and our Kensall Parks. It'll encompass Florida Avenue. But in my opinion, if you're okaying the CRA area and saying these people, then the other residential areas, then why would they be excluded, from the same
I don't disagree. The last time that we made an adjustment to the areas approved for golf carts, I was trying to get larger areas as well, and what I was trying to say is if we just excluded some roads, like Main Street, Tennessee, and a couple others that are so, a little more traveled, but I think the 30...
Well, by Main Street, do you mean Ohio?
No, Main Street that goes down off of 390 into and goes all the way down to the industrial park, and I was actually excluding the industrial park as well because I didn't think that was a good idea with the trucks going in and out of there, if we want golf carts running back in there or not.
And I won't take offense to Tennessee because I live on Tennessee, but there are many other people who live there too, and the posted speed limit is 25 miles per hour.
Yeah, that's where I was getting at,
with children walking to school.
The speed limit thing might work for me. I guess so then back to the attorney, and I don't know if this is a state statute or not, because right now, the way our ordinance is, golf carts are not required to have the slow vehicle sign. And I know in some other cities, not ours in Bay County that I can recall, but I know outside of Bay County I've seen that when I was doing my research for golf carts. If we're going to do it on 25 or below, is that a state statute? Would we have to add that to our ordinance that the golf carts have to have a slow vehicle sign?
We could. I mean, golf carts in general are pretty highly regulated by the state and the state statute, and some of the things that, even some cities want to be tighter than the state rules, and the state has come out and said you can't do that. You have to follow state rule. So where the state does give the city some flexibility, basically golf carts are prohibited unless the city allows them on public roads. And where the state does give the city some flexibility is that we can vary some of the safety requirements. We could add a slow vehicle sign, or require some of the other conditions, such as like we already have, with the licensed driver and all those other things in there. So I mean, we could certainly do that. That's something that the commission is interested in doing.
Right, but it's not something that we have to do if we do that. Okay, if we do the
no, as
25
long as it meets the minimum
okay.
requirements for driving in the state, then that sets the minimum, and we can add extra things to that.
Okay.
We cannot add a license requirement, though. That's one thing we looked at last time.
Right,
we can't
right.
do that.
Some kind of fee. Great. That's all I have. Thank you, Mayor.
Sure, thank you. I appreciate your discussion. Are
Yes,
there
ma'am.
other questions or comments? Mr. Shad? Commissioner Shad, I apologize.
I don't want what I'm about to say to be construed that I'm against expanding the use of golf carts, okay?
Okay.
I'm a methodical, cautious person. I feel uncomfortable with trying to solicit a vote tonight to address an issue that big and as complex as it is. I personally would like to get a paper copy of your presentation, okay? I would like guidance on your feelings as to what areas you really feel, not just what the words say, but put them on a map someplace so that I can study them and ask my own questions of state and county and other people about it. I have an uncomfortable feeling of just blanketly saying, well, we're going to have golf carts all over the city. Okay? It may be more appropriate in other areas than we're currently doing it, but I think there are some areas that it may not be appropriate. Now, I drive this area fairly frequently, and I go to the country club. I've seen 6- and 7-year-old kids driving golf carts out there, sometimes at night without lights on. All right?
I would say that would be a police jurisdiction problem.
Ma'am, what I'm saying is that's going to happen. I don't think we have enough policemen if we expand this too far, too rapidly, to go out and be policing the streets. I'm not against expanding the areas. Don't misunderstand
I don't
me.
misunderstand.
All right? But I'd like a little better definition and getting our arms around some of these areas, because, kids are going to be kids, okay? I've seen mothers in the evening with their golf carts that have no lights on them, holding the baby in their arm, just tug-a-lugging along there, not really paying that much attention. You got a cell phone in one hand, baby in the other, and there's got the kid helping hold the steering wheel. I mean, don't say it doesn't happen. I've seen it.
Well, I would respectfully disagree and say that a parent could be just that careless in an automobile holding a baby and talking on the phone. That's a personal thing. It's not so much golf cart oriented.
What I would like to recommend, and I'll be glad to put it in the form of a motion, is that we table it tonight. You get the information to us, and let's schedule a workshop. I mean, this is not enough time.
Okay, I
to be able
appreciate
to
that.
digest all that, so that we can focus only on that topic and get maps out and, just get the nitty-gritty out and look at it.
I appreciate that very much. Thank you.
So I'd like to make a motion that we table it and we schedule a workshop at an appropriate time for both of us.
Well, I would like to allow public commentary before we move on past that, if you don't mind.
Well, you can still have public commentary.
Well, we were on the other motion, though, before we'd have to rescind that motion and have another motion.
What motion do we have on the floor?
To get the original discussion going that I made.
Oh, okay.
You can do public commentary now, or I can second that motion. You can do public commentary on that one if you want.
I don't have a problem with Mr. It's kind of my thing that I brought up, and I've kind of introduced it. So I don't have a problem if the attorney can direct this, that we rescind the other motion and allow Mr. Shad to make that motion, if that would be agreeable, and then have public commentary after that.
That's fine.
Okay?
Yes, yes, ma'am.
Well, the motion was to, just for discussion, if I remember right,
Right.
correctly?
That was the motion with
Sure.
possible action.
Okay. So we're rescinding that motion. Is that
And
the-
I don't know that we need to rescind that, since we've said that it's discussion with possible action, because you certainly have the ability to vote no, and then I could reintroduce it in a different way at another agenda, at a workshop or whatever. I think that's where we would like to go. Is there any other comment or question from the board?
I know one of the things that I would like to hear is some sort of response from the police department. I know they're out patrolling the streets 24/7, and I'll go ahead and say up front that I'm totally against this proposal. I was against it when we addressed it before. I just see so many things going wrong with this, but I certainly want to hear from our law enforcement and what they have to say.
Well, our police chief did issue a memo, which I got a copy of. I don't know if you got a copy of it or not.
I do have a copy.
And our police chief is against the golf carts. I mean, on safety, on a basis of safety. But I think that I'd like to ask for public commentary because when the golf carts came up before, when the ordinance was passed, the former mayor, his neighborhood was approved. Commissioner Barnes' neighborhood was approved, Commissioner Ashbrook's neighborhood was approved, and Commissioner Friend's neighborhood was approved. Mr. Shadd and I are the only ones who live in a non-golf cart community.
Mayor, can I also interject the fact that I was totally against even my neighborhood, the mayor's neighborhood, and everybody else's neighborhood. I just see so many things going wrong with this.
Okay.
I was totally against it, so let the record reflect that.
Yeah, and I'd like to back up too, Mayor, and just point out that the compromise was made for those neighborhoods because they were confined, developed neighborhoods. That was the reason that we made the compromise, and I appreciated the support at the time for that compromise so that we could get golf carts going in some area.
Okay, and I think that's great. And at this time, if there's no, are there other comments from the board before I open it to the public? And I would just make my final comment, and then I promise I'll be quiet. If you ride your bicycles or go around this area, as many of us do, I consider my neighborhood a confined neighborhood. It doesn't have a gate on it, but it's little streets with shaded trees and driveways, and it's a little confined, and there are squares all over the city limits just like that, especially in the CRA. So I'll end my discussion if anybody else has another comment before we go to the public.
The only other comment I would make is the other time that we discussed it, the comment was made that we don't want the nose of the camel under the tent, and I was on record as saying I don't either. I want the tent destroyed. So
I read that.
Okay,
I read that, and I did read that. Yes.
I'm for it as long as we can do it safely and everybody can agree.
At this time, if we could open to public commentary. Yes, ma'am.
Laura Johnson, 1115 Michigan Avenue. I am in one of those neighborhoods that is part of the historic district of Lynn Haven. We have people out there on hover-rounds coming down our street every day. Bicycles cross our street every day. And to realize that I'm being punished for living in an area that doesn't have a secluded entry into and out of a neighborhood, I find that to be abhorrent. I would like to visit different areas in Lynn Haven with my golf cart. I know there are regulations about golf carts, and those can be enforced. I think most of the people, I know there are exceptions, would be happy to obey the rules in order to be able to use their golf carts to go different places in Lynn Haven. So I don't feel like, because I live in a 104-year-old house in one of the prettiest parts of Lynn Haven, I should be restricted from being able to use my golf cart. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Dan Johnson, 1115 Michigan. For you, I got one saying. You cannot stop stupid. There's nothing you can do about it. Everybody is going to go be stupid driving a car, be it a bicycle, a golf cart. All right, I want to drive my golf cart anywhere I want to go in town. I personally think it is an insult to me that you let the country club have it, you here have it. Something wrong with that picture. We're all Lynn Haven refugees, yeah. But the beach theirs is wide open as far as golf carts. They have certain crossings to go even across Back Beach Road. With the fine, I think it's $150 if you go the wrong way or in the wrong place. We can do the same thing. And our cops can do just as good with cars or golf carts. So there's not putting any extra burden on them. So.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Other discussion? Let me go to the back here. I'll come back.
Board, Jim Mitchell, 1600 Marina Bay Drive. I'm one of the aforementioned senior citizens that has a golf cart. I enjoy it. I live in the Southport annex of Lynn Haven, there at the condos on the bridge. A dozen folks there have golf carts. We enjoy them, but mostly stay where we're supposed to, in the parking lot, down at the marina in the garage. Kudos to you, Mayor, for bringing this up. Appreciate and understand the concern of some of the board members, but as you mentioned, you can't legislate against stupid. You can. Your example was a good example because it's just an example of the abrogation of parental responsibility. Shame on the parents. You know, police can't catch them all, but damn the parents to let them do that. Thanks for considering it. And again, I'm an old guy. I like my golf cart, and I'll put a number on it and you can tell the police where I live, because maybe I'm sometimes not just in my parking lot. So.
Other discussion? Yes, sir.
Richard Gutnick, 1519 Pennsylvania Avenue. You've mentioned that, you know, we've got bicycles and we've got, you know, electric wheelchairs and all sorts of other quasi-vehicles, if you will. Do we have a definition of what a golf cart is? Can I use a four-wheeler instead of a golf cart? You know, these are the things that would need to be addressed in this vein, because, you know, what's the difference between a four-wheeler and a golf cart, you know?
And there are
perhaps
legal descriptions for
that.
that.
Yes, so that's just one point. And to Commissioner Schad's comments regarding people not following the law, I live on Pennsylvania Avenue, okay? I live 2 blocks down from the police department, okay? And I've had some discussions with the police chief regarding police cars going very far over the speed limit down Pennsylvania to 17th Street to get onto Ohio Avenue. This is the police. These are the ones that are supposed to be enforcing these laws, okay? They have access to 77 via 390 and via the access from where the fire department gains access. And the speed limit there is, I believe, 25 miles an hour. I've seen them actually lose control and go off on the side of the road doing this. So, you know, I understand your concerns, but, you know, people are going to do what they're going to do. I believe enforcement is something that needs to happen, because not only with the golf carts, but I see bicycles all the time going the wrong way on the roads, which is an extreme hazard. And I don't know what the regulations are regarding electric chairs, but I see them all the time. I mean, I don't have a problem with them, but are there, you know, regulations that they're supposed to be following? I would assume they would be following the same traffic laws. The next item is you were discussing a crossing from Pennsylvania on 14th Street. I think that's going to be problematic.
I think you're right.
Because I can't get across there in my own vehicle. I mean, getting to this meeting tonight, because I live on Pennsylvania, like I said, I mean, for me to get across there, I had to punch it to, you know, get through traffic to get across that
I think
road.
you're right. In the presentation, I was mentioning maybe Michigan would be another.
So there's that. I would reconsider that part of the proposal.
And I'm not cutting you off, but if you could bring it to a wrap up, because we're out.
Just one more
Thank
point.
you. Thank you.
And that is insurance. You know, vehicles require insurance. Golf carts can be involved in accidents. I don't know if there's anything, legally and stuff, but that's something to consider as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much for those points. Mr. Walker?
Rich Walker, 1106 Michigan Avenue. This is deja vu. Along with these commissioners, we went round and round with the golf carts, and we enjoyed a compromise, and we are at that compromise. This is interesting. I'm not against golf carts, but particularly when I started this, I did extensive investigation with the state of Florida, with the state troopers, with everybody involved in this, and found out a lot of information. And I have to agree with Mr. Shad, you're going to have to find out a lot about this. It can work if you want to do it, if those vehicles are legal. I own a little electric car. What is the purpose of a golf cart? To go to a golf course and ride on the golf course and carry your little clubs and play your game. I can't take my little electric car, which is about the size of a golf cart, legally licensed in the state of Florida, on a golf course. Okay, if it's licensed, fully regulated, and Mr. Shad is correct, our police can't even control what they have now. It's going to be very difficult, and they're not out on Michigan Avenue watching for golf carts. They're not looking for the kids. My point is this. It's a good conception, good idea. The idea is good, but if you do your homework, make sure you're protected. For example, there's no insurance on these vehicles. Most of the people that own golf carts think that their homeowner's insurance covers it. No way. No way. And the city, if it passes an ordinance, allows it on that, is then condoning the use of the car or vehicle and is liable if there's an accident. There's only been one man arrested for misuse of a golf cart in Lynn Haven in the last 5 years, and that was a sacrilege against that individual. That's the only thing that I know in Lynn Haven, prosecution with a golf cart. I would really look forward to a good discussion on this. Look at all the legalities of it. And then we can all, citizens, form a good opinion and make this work right.
Thank you.
Thank you for the idea.
Thank you very much. Are there other comments? Yes, sir.
My name is Brad Yunt. That's Y-U-N-D-T, 210 Lakeview Terrace. And I've got an issue with the structural planning of the community. Part of the community is designed as a grid network, and that lends itself well to walking around from one neighborhood to another, to bicycling, and to golf carts, perhaps. Other parts of the town are designed as arterial, with subdivisions that are blocked off from every place else. That is anti-walking around, anti-bicycling, anti-golf carts. I would like to suggest that when we're planning a new subdivision, that one of the requirements of that new subdivision be that it interconnect with its neighboring subdivisions for the purposes of allowing walking around, bicycling, and golf carts.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Is there any other commentary or questions tonight? Yes, sir.
Robert Gardner, 1600 Marina Bay Drive. And I would like for y'all to really consider the golf cart thing. We use the golf carts, and we have several people here from Marina Bay that use them constantly. We use them in our parking lot. We use them to get out to the marina. We also use them to go down Smith Drive all the way to the boat ramp on McKenzie. We can use the sidewalks because they're in the county and they're 5 feet wide. There's not any place that we can't go in the Southport area on our golf carts, on the sidewalks or on those streets that are 25-mile-an-hour streets. So we'd really appreciate it if you would consider it. We would like to have access to Lynn Haven via the Old Bailey Bridge. You could open those gates just wide enough for a golf cart to get through, and it would give us access to this side of the city. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
My name is Fred Strickland. I also live in Marina Bay, next to these old guys over here. Thank you very much, Mayor. I appreciate that proposal. I encourage the city commissioners to join her in making this a more golf cart friendly community. I am an avid golf cart enthusiast, and I agree with this young lady. I don't think it's fair that some people in the city can use their golf carts and we can't. Here at Marina Bay, if we could just cross the old bridge, and now we're part of the country club group, but you won't even let us cross the old bridge, and you say so many things can happen. How many things have happened? I mean, you listed a whole bunch of communities that have golf carts. Is there really a problem? Commissioner Barnes, you say you just see so many things happening. What's happening? Is there a problem? Are people having accidents, people getting run over, people getting killed? I guess that's rhetorical. I mean, but anyhow, thank you very much. I hope y'all make Lynn Haven a more golf cart friendly community. I don't know if you've ever been to the villages. It's a lot of fun.
Thank you. Are there other comments or questions? Yes, sir.
I'm another one of the old coots from 1600 Marina Bay Drive. I'm Jay Gross. I've only lived here since December, but I spent 25 years at Blue Water Bay, which is a golf cart community. All that time, there were 2 accidents. There must have been 500 automobile accidents in that time. One was the guy backed over a person at the clubhouse. The other one, a gentleman over 50 years old, was driving and ran somebody down because he wasn't watching where he was going. Both of them were accidents that should have never happened. There are more bicycle accidents in Blue Water Bay than there are golf carts. It's a community of over 4,000 homes, and there must be 500 or 600 golf carts in that community. You might check with those people or in a community similar to that to find out just what problems and what things you might want to consider in an ordinance to cover them here in this area. I think they're great, and I still have one, so thank you.
Thank you. Anything else? Anybody else? Questions? Okay. At this point,
Mayor,
just
Mayor, could
yes, I'm sorry. The city manager wanted to make a comment.
I just want to speak real briefly. The police department's been referenced a couple of times. Police chief's not here. He's at home sick. Major Reamer's here, and he's welcome to compliment what I'm about to say with an E, compliment what I'm about to say if he has anything additional to add. But to me, as far as the critique of the law enforcement, to me it's more about a quantity issue and not a quality issue. And if you do have a quality issue with any of the departments, feel free to call me. I don't make my cell phone any secret, and certainly call me at City Hall. Got an open door policy. But as far as I do see, and I'll respectfully disagree with several of the comments, that this would not add an extra burden. On any given day or night, for that matter, typically we have 2 patrols. You've got 12 square miles of city, you've got 19,000 citizens. That's a lot. And I hate to use the word stupid, but that's going around. When you have more opportunities, when you're increasing the amount of vehicles out there, just percentage-wise, if that stays true, you're going to have more opportunities for people to abuse the privilege. We need enforcement. We don't have enough enforcement to cover, as Mayor and some other folks had stated, all the cars. We can't be in every neighborhood once a week. It's just gotten that big when you have 2 patrol cars out there at any given time. So I would respectfully submit that while I'm very proud of our ratio, as we've talked about the budget since I've been here, when you look at the number of city employees per capita to the number of citizens we have, we're very efficient. We're almost double the efficiency, but if we've got more laws, if we've got more opportunities for privileges to be abused, you're probably going to see me ask for more enforcement tools, including personnel. Do you have anything to add to that, Major Reamer, as far as safety?
Okay. At this point, just based on, I'm sorry, Major, did you want to come on up? I'm sorry. I thought you said no. I apologize. Thank you.
cited several safety issues. The biggest issue, I think, is probably golf carts are designed and manufactured as recreational vehicles to be operated on a golf course. They're low-speed vehicles. By statute, they're not supposed to go over 20 miles an hour. We did some studies at the golf course out here, just random, picked a couple golf carts, and the average speed we got was 17 miles an hour. You put a 17-mile-an-hour slow-moving vehicle in front of somebody that's in a hurry, they're going to get angry because that vehicle's in the way. So tempers are going to rise. It's golf carts they have brakes on the rear wheels. They don't have brakes on the front wheels. They're not designed to go on roads. There's just a lot of inherent issues that come with them. And this may be better presented at a workshop because there's a lot of data to back it up. I've heard a couple of the golf cart friendly communities mentioned, and the information we got was on the internet, so it's got to be true. In the villages in 2012, 13, and 14, they had 115,000 injuries in golf cart related. They had 12 fatalities. In Peachtree City, Georgia, it's a golf cart friendly city as well. It's about a little bit bigger than Lynn Haven. They average about 80 to 90 crashes a year, with about half of them resulting in injuries. So there are problems in golf cart communities. We're just concerned about the safety of people who are out motoring and the people who are walking and riding bicycles. So there are a lot of other facts that we could present, but as a whole, we feel like the dangers are there. The liability to the city is something that you have to take into consideration. And there are enforcement problems that come with more vehicles on the road. So I'll answer any other questions you may have.
No, I appreciate your comments very much, and everybody's. I know we've grown into a longer meeting this evening, and at this point, I did have a suggestion. Because just based on this discussion from the panel, I think to put it to a vote tonight would not be a good thing to do. So if I could ask respectfully Commissioner Friend to rescind his motion.
Yes, ma'am. I'll rescind my motion, and if you'd like, I'd make a motion
I would appreciate that.
Yeah, we'll bring back the presentation that you so well done, print it out, get it all of us, and let us discuss it. Let us do some research and come back to a workshop at a later date. That would be my motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Commissioner Shad. There's been a motion and a second. Could we please bring that to a vote, Mr. Schubert?
Commissioner Friend?
Yes.
Commissioner Barnes?
Aye.
Commissioner Ashbrook?
No.
Commissioner Shad?
Aye.
Mayor Anderson?
Yes. And at this time, there's a place for public commentary just in general. Is there anyone who wanted public commentary on any topic? Yes. Full disclosure, this would be the mayor's mother.
And she still only gets 3 minutes. I'm
she
kidding.
Still gets 3 minutes. State your name and your address, please.
My name is Jerry Deal, and I live on 511 Tennessee Avenue. And I just have a question to ask. Today, my daughter has asked for you guys to consider having golf carts. What I would like to know, if today they became so dangerous, why did you guys let them be in the country club, and why did you let them be in all these other areas that have golf carts? What is the reason? Are we just being punished because we can't have any? That's my question. And when you have this meeting that you're going to have, this workshop, I think you guys need to question your own selves, because if you've allowed other people to have them, then you should think about us. That's all I got to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Mother. I appreciate that. Are there any other comments or questions? Mr. Walker?
Didn't get a chance on the budget. Rich Walker, 1106, Michigan. I just wanted to ask a question. 2013-214 budget, the year-end budget listed $250,000 for the 17th ditch. At that year, we spent $25,000. That left $225,000 left, and was supposed to be carried over. You mentioned, the city manager mentioned that he would carry it over. The 2014-2015 budget now, mid-year, lists $400,000 budgeted for the 17th Street ditch, $400,000. Is this $400,000, which was budgeted for at the end of the year 2015, which ends in 3 weeks, is that part of the $4 million? Is that going to be used as part of the $4 million, or is that going to be completed and then the $4 million take over for the 17th Street ditch?
Yeah. Let me just explain to you exactly what happened, and if you want to, we can go over the numbers. We did approximately $335,000 for 200 and I think 4 or 8 feet of that ditch. We're not going to finish that before the end of the fiscal year. What has been paid for engineering and the contractor will be cash carried forward to this coming year. That 200 feet is still going to cost us $335,000 or $1,600 a lineal foot. In addition, that change order will address the balance, the 3,300 feet, which is the $3.72 million, which again is in that document, as Mrs. Walker said, just accounting for the debt, not that we're going to encumber $3.72 million. It's going to be approximately $250,000, which will be our debt service.
I just want to make clear that the $400,000 that we've been saving for 2 years is going to be used.
Yes,
and then
absolutely.
The additional with will kick in later.
Right. It was earmarked, and just for everyone's edification too, instead of doing, I'm big about economies of scale and maximizing and mobilizing once, we pushed it forward to the next fiscal year so that we could do 200-something feet instead of 180-something feet. So we mobilized once.
Thank you for keeping your promise.
Thank you for the question and the comment. Anybody else have a comment or question in general? Yes.
Hey, I'm David McCollum, 3244 Country Club Drive here in Lynn Haven. And I would like to bring out a concern that I've addressed with several employees with the Public Works Department in the city of Lynn Haven about the drainage issue on my property and other properties in the country club. And I'd like to officially bring that, I guess, to the commission with the understanding that the drainage problem has actually caused property damage and is a great concern to me for a safety issue. I've been dealing with it for probably the last 5 or 6 years, and with an expense out of my pocket to do some repairs, and also the Public Works Department in the city of Lynn Haven has spent money and done some of the repair also, but didn't complete some of the repairs, and the issue has returned. I became aware that some of my neighbors were having some of the same issues, and not to the extent that I have had, but they have great concern of sinkholes in their yards, property damage with the foundation of a home. I've had several portions of my fence that have come down. I've had, right now I've probably got a 6 foot by 4 foot sinkhole. It's about 3 foot deep along my fence line. My property also, and a lot of people are probably familiar with it, but I have a back driveway that comes in off the end of Delaware Avenue. And so when I had come into my back driveway, it's a nicer brick home with a brick paver driveway. But this drainage system runs underneath my driveway and through my backyard. I've had to repair the driveway on numerous occasions where the brick pavers have fell in because of the erosion, because the pipes under there are corroded and it's basically washing away the dirt under my driveway, so my driveway started to collapse. There's also 2 brick columns at the corner of my driveway there, and one of them on one side actually collapsed and broke. And the city of Lynn Haven very nicely came in and took every brick apart, paid a contractor actually to come in, take it all apart, and reconstruct it back the way it was. And they also, on my side of the property line, the city side of the property line, they came in and, I don't know what you call it, but the big brick or concrete portions that go into the ground where all your pipes come in, they replaced every bit of that. And some of my neighbors actually asked the mayor to come over and look at their yards yesterday, and I just happened to find out about it, and so I wanted to give my 2 cents to her and ask her to come look in my backyard also. I showed her the sinkhole between the fence lines between my property and Mr. Traylor's property that's 3 foot deep, and I also brought her over and showed her where the city of Lynn Haven had made repairs to my property, but I also showed her where it is starting to do the same thing with the drainage ditch that runs under my driveway, and I said, this is where it's gotten soft, and I took to take a step, and I actually fell in. If I hadn't have been purposely trying to show her something and just normally walking through my yard, I probably could have broken my knee. But I purposely showed her, and when I stepped, the ground gave way, and I fell 3 foot into the ground. And you could see underneath my driveway where the erosion has corroded. So I have talked to the city of Lynn Haven, the Public Works Department, about this, like I said, for the last 5 or 6 years, have had a repair, but not the true things that need to be repaired, which is the culverts or the piping that runs under the ground for the stormwater runoff in the country club, because it runs from the roads between my property, underneath my property, and out into the main runoff system. And so I know there's been some age to these things, and they're starting to collapse. My request is, before my neighbor feels like their foundation of their house is going to give way, before my truck falls into my driveway, my lawn guy gets a broken leg or something, I think we seriously need to consider doing something. I'm not an engineer. I don't know if they need to be replaced. They can be repaired. I don't know. I know the city had hired somebody that came over, an engineer, came to my backyard and asked for permission to take a system to look up into the pipe to see exactly what the damage was. But as far as I know, nothing like that ever happened. So
Mr.
we're
McCall,
kind of at a
I'm going
standstill.
to jump in on you for a
Okay.
second, because we've gone beyond the, actually double the
Okay,
speaking
I
time.
apologize.
No, you're fine, because I wanted to try to help you come to an end there. If I have turned this problem over this morning, I mentioned it to the city manager who's going to be calling you, and if you could just make a wrap-up statement of what you'd like to see done, and then he'll be in contact with you.
Well, again, I know there's several other neighbors that have the same concern. I'm the one that seems to have the biggest problem. I think I have more of the pipeline that runs through my piece of property. And the biggest concern, again, is property damage, driveway falling in, the fence, okay, but the driveway falling in, my truck dropping into the driveway, or my wife's Lexus, or somebody getting seriously injured on the property because of it. And I would just like to see some kind of somebody put something together that can either come in and look and see exactly what the problem is, can it be repaired, or do we need to take the pipes up and replace? I don't know.
Could I speak to this? I've been involved in it. I live at the country club, have for 25 years. As you may know, that development was put in as a private development, and the road was a private road. So the developers went in, built the road, city wasn't involved, put in the drainage system, and there was never any easements or right-of-ways given to the city of Lynn Haven for all the drainage lines. So that the city has no drainage easements out there. They actually would have to drive on private property and start digging it up because they have no easement rights, okay?
Yes, sir. I understand that.
The road was turned over to the city. The city took it over. They didn't take over the drainage system because it wasn't engineered to spec. It was put in by the developers, and therein lies the problem. You have a deteriorating system, a homeowners association that is not going to take the dollars. The homeowners association, I actually got the price to have Churchwell scope that line. And the former manager, might have been, anyway, we had an agreement with the homeowners association to go halvesies on the cost. It wasn't ludicrous, it was $1,000 or something. Okay, but the problem is between, say, you and Mr. Carl Traylor, okay? You all own your property to your property lines. There's no 12-foot drainage easement there. You would have to be willing to get property owners to give drainage easements to the city so that we can...
Every property owner has agreed to that.
You bring that to me in writing. I've heard this for 10 years.
Okay.
And nobody...
This is why I'm here.
Nobody has ever come in and said, I'm willing to give up 10 feet of my property as a city drainage easement.
Okay.
Okay? Trust me, when you get more than one person trying to agree on something,
I understand that.
it's a pretty tough nut. And there's a whole bunch that got to go down that line between your house and the end of the country club. half of which have put fences and swimming pool decks over the drainage pipe.
Yes, sir.
Okay? So if those people are willing to allow the city, if we even accepted it, to go in and start tearing up their swimming pools to get to clogged lines,
The ones that I've
talk
seen,
to
there's no
those people.
swimming pools. The drainage ditch is far enough on the back of the property. There's swimming pools in one of the yards.
I've had two engineers look at this. So bring me an engineering report that conflicts with what they've said. That there are not existing structures that would have to be torn out or moved, and that's only if the city would be willing to accept the easements, and once they did, we would have to then dig up the pipes and replace them.
Okay. I have two questions. Okay. First of all, if the city agrees, none of the property owners, I can just about guarantee, and I will not have a problem getting something written legally.
Don't want it written legally, I want it to go through, it has to be land dedicated to the city.
Okay.
Not a, I will, I think I will, I think I
I
can.
understand that point.
Surveys have to be done,
But
property
the
given
other
away.
point that I have, if the city owns the road, they own the drain that the water goes into, the city water that goes through my property, my
Correct.
ditch is what you're saying.
Correct.
Okay? Then how much do I charge the city for using my drain to go through your
That
water
drain
system?
belongs to the homeowners association. It was
Okay.
put in by the HOA.
You just told me it belonged to me and my property.
No, the land that pipe runs under is your property, okay? That pipe was installed by the developer to benefit the homeowners association.
Okay, so the homeowners association, or you're saying they're the ones responsible for that?
I think you got it.
Okay. Well, it sounds like there needs to be a lawyer involved probably to decide.
More than one.
Probably. But the city is still willing. The city is still willing, if I'm listening to you correctly, if I get enough
Hey, city's not willing to do
information-
anything. I'm one person, F5.
Okay. Well, my whole point was to bring it to the commission because it's an issue and it's definitely something that needs to be resolved because of the property damage and the safety issue, and it's huge. So
Yeah.
I've done my part to bring it to the
That's
commission.
fine.
Which is what I wanted to do.
All I've seen is, I've been over there and walked it too, and I've seen berms of grass.
There's a lot of people that have been there, but the problem is nothing's being done, and that's where I
That's
want to make
correct.
sure that I brought it to somebody's attention. Because as far as I know, I didn't know anybody else here knew about it.
I've known about it for eons. It's just, there's too many parties unwilling to sit down and make something happen.
Well, I saw you fall through your driveway yesterday showing it to me, so I
Yeah.
think there's a problem, and,
Yeah.
and I'm willing to look more into it. I mean, I don't know what I
That's
could do,
all
but
I'm
I'm willing to
really.
investigate.
Well, and we had a meeting
We
with
don't own the
It's frustrating to me as a property owner, you know what I'm saying? In a nice neighborhood to have to deal with
In
something.
May of 2014, if I remember correctly, we had a meeting in the old commission room with the homeowners association. Mr. Trailer was there. We had, I think, more than one or two meetings about this issue. There are other issues, and I'm not discounting yours. It is a real issue, and I'm glad to hear that at least we've been out there trying to address this. We have made some efforts. I've got another subdivision in the city that the developer installed a subpar lift station. The only thing, I mean, the city just can't come in and take over infrastructure that wasn't built to city code because it's an incredible expense to the city.
I'm sure when that stuff was put down, it was probably put down within code. That's changed, so.
Well,
I don't
for the
think
city
there
to
was
take
a
over,
code.
yeah.
I don't think
Right.
there was a code when that was put down.
My point,
exactly.
My point is there's considerable expense. We're always willing to talk to you about potential solutions. The last I heard, as Commissioner Ashbrook had said, we had volunteered to pay for half of the scoping of that pipe, and then we just didn't hear anything. So, you know, I'm not pointing any fingers,
Fair
but I'm
enough.
saying there's infrastructure all over this town that through no fault of any homeowner, they inherited as part of buying into the subdivision that the city could take over at considerable cost. And I guarantee you there's a bunch of folks that'll fill this room from the country club, and there's probably just as many from the rest of the city that says, I don't want to pay ad valorem taxes to make that fancy country club drain properly. So, you know, there's a balancing act, and we're willing to certainly talk to you and continue those
Well, I
conversations.
was unaware that there was other people that had been involved in it, and there was another issue,
Oh,
another
sure.
meeting that I didn't know about. But
Oh, yeah.
from my point of view, when I fell through my driveway yesterday, and the mayor was there and saw it, you know, I wanted to make sure that people here were aware of the problem.
In fact, there
Okay.
was a
So
culvert
thank
box.
you for listening.
There was a culvert box fixed in your driveway several years ago at the city's expense that
Yes.
really wasn't the
Yes.
city's responsibility.
And I mentioned that earlier, that they were very cooperative, and it was explained to me that way. But again, well, I don't want to get into it again with that kind of thing. But thank you for listening to me, and anything you can do to help with I'd appreciate it.
Good.
Thank you for coming. Anyone else have a comment or question today about anything? All right, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.